there, witchy ones. Reverend Thoadwin here, also known as Chris. Been a while since last I uploaded, and just to kind of figure out what exactly I'm going to be doing with this channel, I've got a pretty good idea now. One of my New Year's resolutions, one of my many, is to upload a video at least once a week, so you can expect to be hearing quite a bit more from me over the next year here. So today I wanted to talk about circle casting and the different things I've heard from other traditions and from my own tradition, the online community, my pagan community in town here, and maybe give you something to take away from that. So firstly, what is circle casting? Well, circle casting is something found in most neo-pagan and Wiccan traditions, many magical traditions, ceremonial traditions, and so on. It's basically an amplifier, an energetic amplifier. It makes the effectiveness of your ritual, your working, your magic, whatever you're using it for, just a little bit more intense, you know? So, some people have the idea that circle casting is not necessary, or it's, yeah, basically it's not necessary. Under any circumstances. I'm definitely not of that persuasion, but if you are, do you. The reason I would say it is maybe not necessary, but highly recommended for certain things, is for the same reason that, using that amplifier example again, using a guitar amp is sometimes recommended, although it's not necessary. You can play an acoustic guitar just fine, and you can get a very good sound out of it, you can have people dancing to it, you can have people enjoy the music. But if you want to be able to get to a larger audience, if you want to be able to do bigger things with your music, you plug it into an amp, and there you go. You have all the more ability. Well, not ability, but ability to give your music to other people, and thus have almost more publicity, kind of, for yourself. So the same kind of thing goes into play with casting a circle, okay? You can work magic just fine without a circle. But if you amplify it, the result is usually going to be a little more intense. Now, for ritual, I would say casting a circle is probably, I won't say it's necessary, but I'll say it's recommended, very, very highly recommended. And the reason for that is casting a circle, you're making a temple. That's what you're doing. You're creating sacred space, as well as you're kind of making like a bowl in the energy around you, in the space you're going to be working. It's kind of like when people use a sheet of lycra and put a marble on it and toss another smaller marble around it to make it rotate to kind of simulate gravity and what it's like in time space. It's kind of like that, kind of, for energy. You're making like a divot in the energy matter continuum, if you want to call it that, and making things more likely to come together in that place. So, if you're going to be doing ritual, I would say, out of respect for the divinities that you may or may not be working with, creating a sacred space is just a little bit more welcoming. It's kind of like if you were to invite your landlord or your landlady to your house for coffee or tea or what have you, and you didn't properly prepare your place. You know, you had stuff lying everywhere, you had, you know, dishes in the sink, stuff like that. They might not be entirely offended. Maybe they will be, though. Maybe they'd be like, wow, you didn't really take much time into bringing the people who own your house into your house. You're not giving a very good impression. I think it's kind of the same thing when it comes to ritual and inviting other beings into your spiritual practice. It just shows a little bit more of a welcome to them when you have a space laid out for them and you have a place where it's easier for you to focus, it's easier for you to focus on them. Because a circle creates it's almost kind of like a vortex of focus, you know? You're bringing in, you're using different kind of keys to your unconscious to make it a little bit easier for you to think magically, for you to think in a ritualistic kind of way. Now that doesn't mean it has to be all solemn and serious and grave the entire time, but it does mean that you should be treating divinity like divinity. Now, as a pagan, or neo-Wiccan, neo-pagan, whatever you want to call it, within that general scope of belief is the notion that everything is sacred, everything is divine. So some people would argue, why would you need to make a separate sacred space if everything is already divine as it is? Well, because there's a difference between divinity and sacredness, if that makes sense. See, kind of like holy water and normal water. It's already divine, but when you're setting aside that certain oomph for invoking and evoking, it's making it more effective. It's making it easier to get into that place. If you're going into ritual with a whole bunch of doubt or unserious attitude, or not unserious, but you're not treating it seriously, like you're not actually, like, you know, grasping what you're trying to get at, not necessarily get, it's probably going to result in having rather unserious, insincere, kind of fickle results from whatever you're working for. So in ritual, I would say it's very recommended to cast a circle. Now for practice, personal practice, I would say it's almost better to not use a circle when you're meditating or doing energy work or visualizations, because then you're getting used to using your own power, just your own power, to work with energy. It's kind of like it's like strength training, right? It'd be kind of like the difference between using an isolation muscle building machine and a dumbbell, right? Using a dumbbell, you're working more than just the one muscle. You're working all the stabilizer muscles and everything, whereas when you're using an isolation machine, you're getting the aid of that machine and working just that one muscle, kind of like what a circle does. It's giving you the aid of just having to focus on what you need to focus on, whereas when you don't use a circle, you really have to focus, and you have to make sure that you're concentrating the energy and clearing your mind. So for personal practice, I'd say a circle, you can use it. It can help, maybe just in the beginning, but when you're really trying to get better at something, it can help to not have that circle, kind of like meditating, right? It can help at first to meditate in a really quiet, serene area, but it's really effective when you can learn to meditate in just about any situation, on a bus, outside, while you're walking. It just trains you better. It gives you more of that ability to work with yourself. Now, there are lots of different ways of casting a circle, and the only limits are basically your own imagination. Some people will actually mechanically cast a circle with their finger or their wand or their athame. I use all three interchangeably, basically. Other people will have people dance in a circle until they feel like the energy has been put in place there. Other people will kind of expand a circle outward from it. That's what I do in solitary practice more often than not. So the process for casting a circle is something that is very individual. Often what I'll do is I'll cleanse the space first, kind of making a blank slate, getting rid of anything else that might interfere with it, and then I go around with this guy here, I call him Jnim, and I sweep the circle in a counterclockwise motion for cleansing, using a chant, and then I would charge the area with sacred energy, just watching it permeate the space. And then I stand in the center and I get ready, and I build up energy between my hands, and I see it get intense, very, very intense, with the intention of creating a sacred space of protection and focus and intent. And then once I feel ready, I either see it kind of expand into a circle, just like whoosh, or I kind of clap my hands and watch it explode into a circle. So you see, the only restriction on how you cast a circle is yours. It's up to you. And then everything that comes after that is also equally as up to you. So, when it comes to magic and circles, magic, I feel, almost should be done in a circle if you really want it to be effective, but you don't need it in a circle. Like, I have several walks where I do a casual spell without circle. But if you want it to be really effective, if it's something you're really, really, really focusing on, a circle can help. And I don't feel it's a hindrance to your overall ability, unlike with practice where it can kind of be a crutch. So I hope that has kind of given you a bit more of an insight as to how circles can work, what you can do with circles, and my opinions on them. If you have any different opinions or other ideas, please feel free to comment below. I'd love to hear them. Question, comment, I'd love to have some questions to answer and talk about. So until next time, blessed be.